So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to lecture number 4 of history in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay 2026. Through this lecture series, you'll get to cover all your current affairs, subject-wise, all your current affairs, but you'll also get to cover associated static concepts as well. So we'll cover current affairs and the related static concepts. Everything would be covered. As you all know, that static topics which have some connection with current affairs have a high probability of featuring in your prelims examination. Therefore, it's very important to cover these static topics. We will do that in this lecture series. So current affairs as well as static portion, everything would be revised. And you would just have to spend 1 hour of your day. If you'll make this lecture series a part of your daily routine, well, you just have to spend 1 hour of your day. That's it. And everything would be revised. You will be absolutely prepared for your prelims examination. Just 1 hour. So don't delay your revision till February, March, April. Begin your UPSC Prelims revision now through this lecture series. Just spend 1 hour every day and everything would be covered. Okay. Now, if you really want to get the benefit of this lecture series, well, you will have to follow these 4 steps. Step number 1, watch the lecture on time. Okay. Don't keep lectures pending. Be regular and consistent with it. This is very important. And step number 2, we will be giving you notes. Memorize those notes. It's very important that you memorize those notes just after watching the lecture. Plus, those notes would contain certain extra information which will be useful for you. So do that. Step number 3, you're bound to have some doubts. Ask your doubts. We'll be enrolling you in our WhatsApp groups, which would be active 24/7. You can ask your doubts anytime, but do ask them. Okay, doubts are very important to get them cleared. And step number 4, very important. Along with this lecture series, you'll be getting a test series, an exhaustive list of tests. Be regular with those tests. Be absolutely regular. Please don't keep tests pending. This is my message to my existing students as well as the future students. Do not keep the tests pending. They are absolutely critical for your prelims examination. Okay, so follow these 4 steps. Now for step number 1, you just have to follow us on YouTube. But for step number 2, notes, for WhatsApp groups, for tests, you would have to register on our app or on our website. The registration links are given in the comment section below. Plus, along with that, there is also a number. If there is any difficulty when it comes to registration, you just have to drop us a WhatsApp text and we will take it forward from there. Okay, so on WhatsApp us and we will guide you through the entire registration process. All right then, enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. And our today's topic of discussion is learning military tactics from ancient India. Well, let me tell you one good thing about India and one bad thing. The good thing about India is that India is starting to recognize its ancient wisdom. But the bad thing is, well, let me explain this bad thing with the help of the example of China. Do you know that military history, military strategy is very important these days? Do you know that in 5th century BC, there was a text written by an ancient Chinese philosopher called Sun Tzu, and that text was called Art of War. In 5th century BC, Art of War was written by Sun Tzu. Okay? China promoted this book. China not only learned from this book, in fact, China popularized this book, so much so that all militaries of the world, almost all militaries of the world, including Indian military, read this book called Art of War. Art of War is not only taught in military colleges, it is also taught in MBA colleges. Okay? So such is the effect of this ancient Chinese wisdom that China promoted and also benefited a lot out of it. Why can't India do so? Is there any shortage of literature on statecraft, military strategy in India? Absolutely not. We have so much literature related to military strategy, military history, statecraft, diplomacy, espionage, spy network, everything. We have so much literature. Kautilya's Arthashastra, Niti Shastra, so much literature is there. Why are our defense forces still reliant on Western strategies, Western technology, Western theory? Well, I'm not saying that Western theories of military are bad, but we also should learn something from our ancient wisdom and side by side promote it, right? This was the realization made by Indian government, and to do something about it, well, in 2023, Project Udbhav was launched. Under Project Udbhav, well, Government of India wants to do research, interdisciplinary research to basically study our ancient texts and how those ancient texts can teach us about modern military strategy. Same thing what China did with art of war, well, we are doing with our many scores and scores of ancient texts under Project Udbhav. Now, Project Udbhav was launched in 2023, but the reason why we are studying it today is because under Project Udbhav, many initiatives have been taken in 2024-25 also. Many seminars, especially after Operation Sindoor, Project Udbhav has again come to the limelight. Okay, that is why there is a high chance that Project Udbhav and the associated information can feature in your exams. So we will study Project Udbhav, what India can learn from its past. Okay, so let's begin. So history lecture 4, learning military tactics from ancient India, and under this we will study Project Udbhav. So what is Project Udbhav? First let's talk about this. Okay, so it is an initiative by Indian Army. So it's an initiative of Indian Army, and Indian Army will create curriculum to teach its cadets also. Indian Army Training Command there also, military training command. An initiative by Indian Army in collaboration with United Service Institution of India, launched in October 2023. Now, the primary objective of Project Udbhav is to bridge the gap between ancient Indian military knowledge and modern military education. Don't for a second believe that Indian military is going to abandon modern military education. No, we are going to synthesize modern military education with ancient Indian education. Ancient India has a lot to teach us about military strategy, and we should learn from it. Well, Chinese, and not just Chinese, the entire world is learning from art of war, still, even till today. So why can't we promote our ancient wisdom? We should. The project explores India's historical texts such as Arthashastra by Kautilya, Niti Sara, Mahabharat. Even Mahabharat talks about military strategy. Focuses on strategic brilliance during the eras of Mauryas, Guptas, Marathas, Cholas, even Maharaja Ranjit Singh during the Sikh Empire. We can learn a lot out of it, okay? It also promotes civil-military collaboration with cultural pride in Indian Armed Forces. People, well, Indian Armed Forces is what? It's a collection of people. Those people also come from us only. Those people should also have pride in Indian culture, right? Pride in India's military culture. That is very important, okay? Now, what are the sources of Project Udbhav? I mean, which ancient texts would be studied under Project Udbhav? Okay, so historical religious texts which contain information about military strategy like Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Dharma Shastra. Then regional texts, okay, special books written for strategy like Kautilya's Arthashastra, Kamandaka's Niti Sar. Kamandaka was, by the way, a disciple of Kautilya, Chanakya. Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural. Okay. Then military history. Many written records have been found about the strategy used by Mauryas, Guptas, Cholas during their expeditions, war expeditions, Marathas, Ahoms, even Ranjit Singh. And certain thematic research would be done. So a special research group on diplomacy, on espionage, spy work, psychological warfare, fortification, logistics, how logistics of military should be managed, ethical warfare. What is ethical warfare? Research should be done, and these ancient texts can guide us. Okay, so all of this, these are the sources. Now, under Project Udbhav, first we'll create a proper literature around ancient military warfare. Okay, military tactics, military strategy, military spy work, all of this, all documents would be created. Then lectures, seminars, workshops, all of this would be done to promote this. Okay, and a curriculum would be created which would be taught to, well, defense cadets. Okay, now, so far, what publications have been made under Project Udbhav? So under Project Udbhav, we have released compendium of 75 stratagems, 75 military strategies, which draws from ancient Indian scripture to catalog military strategies and aphorisms. Okay, and this was made by Indian Army Training Command. Then पारंपरिक भारतीय दर्शन रणनीति और नेत्रियता के शाश्वत नियम. Basically, the English translation is Traditional Indian Philosophy, Eternal Rules of Warfare and Leadership. This publication was made. Then some publications under Project Udbhav have been published in foreign European journals. Project Udbhav integrating ancient wisdom with modern Indian military pedagogy. Pedagogy means style of teaching. Published in European Journal of Social Sciences. Okay, plus many countless workshops, panel discussions, lectures involving experts from various institutions on topics like Arthashastra, and under Arthashastra, Kautilya talks about Tantra Yukti. Okay, how you use your brain to outmaneuver your enemy. So all these workshops by experts, professors would be done. This is an ongoing practice. Okay, now what are the core objectives? First of all, knowledge integration, ancient knowledge with modern knowledge. Then only you'll have complete knowledge. We still can learn from historical experience. We should. Then interdisciplinary research. Bridge the gap between historical strategic thought and future military needs. How our future military needs can learn something from our past. Fostering future ready Indian Army through interdisciplinary research. And promoting Indian systems. We need to promote Indian systems like China has done with Art of War. Art of War is taught everywhere, every university, every war college, everywhere. Develop indigenous military vocabulary. So we will develop our own indigenous Indian military vocabulary. Currently, the vocabulary is borrowed from English, UK. We will develop our own military vocabulary. Okay, Niti, Shastra and all. Enhance civil military collaboration, promote cultural pride because we are developing our indigenous system. Make sense? Okay. Now, that's all you need to know as far as Project Udbhav is concerned, and some extra information would be given in your notes. But remember when we talked about sources, okay? So Project Udbhav would do research on ancient literature. What type of ancient literature? Well, religious literature. Then regional texts, right? What are these regional texts that we talk about? Arthashastra, Niti Shastra or Niti Sar, and Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural. Okay, so let's gather some more information on these regional texts. Okay, because there is a high chance they can ask a question. Whenever UPSC asks an obscure question, it's generally related to current affairs only. So let's zero in on this. Project Udbhav is over, but Project Udbhav will borrow from these sources as well. So let's discuss these sources one by one. Okay, ancient strategic texts. First, let's talk about Kautilya's Arthashastra. So Kautilya's Arthashastra, also known as Kautilya, was called Chanakya. Okay, Kautilya had many names. So Kautilya was one, then Chanakya, then Vishnugupta. Okay, so Kautilya's Arthashastra, also known as Chanakya Niti, is an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft, economic policy, military strategy, and governance. It is attributed to Kautilya Chanakya, who composed it during Mauryan Empire, okay, around 321 BC. Okay, now some key features, key themes of Arthashastra you should know about. First of all, he described a state is composed of 7 elements. Every state, every country has these 7 elements, 7 prakritis: king, ministers, country, fort, treasury, army, allies for efficient administration. And he has given a detailed description and functions and role of each of these 7 prakritis. Okay, then he talks about diplomacy and strategy. So this is statecraft, diplomacy and strategy, very famous mandala theory. Plus, if you have some knowledge about Sanskrit or Hindi, well, you must have heard this: Sam, Dam, Dan, Dand, Bhed. Okay, so he said that there are 6 foreign policy tools. Sam, by deal making; Dan, by giving gifts, what Donald Trump does; Bhed, by sowing divisions in a country, you can defeat a country; and Dand, by using brute force. So he gave a detailed account of all of that. Then he also wrote on economics and welfare economics. Okay, military and ethics also he talked about. So these were the core themes. Some more information is in your notes. Let's quickly shift to another regional document, that is Kamandaka's Niti Sar or Niti Shastra. Now it is believed that Kamandaka was a disciple of Kautilya, and he basically wrote a explanatory book on Arthashastra. He wanted to write more on Arthashastra. That is why he wrote Niti Sar. Okay. Kamandaka's Niti Sar, Essence of Statesmanship, is an ancient Indian Sanskrit treatise on politics, statecraft, ethics, governance, authored by Kamandaka or Kamandaki. Traditionally identified as disciple of Kautilya, and this book was composed between 3rd to 7th century, 3rd BC to 7th century BC. Historians debate on this. Okay. The text comprises of 20 chapters, sarga, 36 sections, prakaranas, and 1163 maxims, structured as poetic summary of. So he wrote a summary of Arthashastra. But there is one difference. As compared to Arthashastra, Arthashastra was pretty brutal. And some people say even immoral also. Chanakya says that to preserve the country, to save the country, to defend the country, if you have to do certain immoral things, so be it. Do it. Because your biggest duty is towards your country. So for your country, if you have to do some immoral deeds, no one would judge you. At least I wouldn't. So as compared to Arthashastra, well, this has more emphasis on ethics and all. So as compared to Arthashastra, it has greater emphasis on ethical governance. So Chanakya basically talks about ethics, but he doesn't give that much attention to ethics, morality. Niti Sar does a little bit. Okay. So key components of Niti Sar, he talks about foreign policy, peace and war, ethics and kingship. Okay, but ethics is a big topic. And now let's come to another regional document which is all about ethics. Okay, and that is Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural or Kural. Tiruvalluvar Tirukural is a classic Tamil literary work comprising 1330 couplets divided into 3 sections. So it is part of Sangam literature only. It is divided into 3 sections. Aram, which is virtue. What is your virtue? Porul, which is wealth and governance, economics basically, and Imbam, love. Okay, composed between 2nd century BC to 5th century CE. Tamil Nadu government says it is around 3037 BC, but well, this is a debate among historians. Okay, now Tirukural focuses on morality way more. It focuses more on morality, ethics, righteous governance. Now, if it focuses too much on morality, how should a state behave, how should a king behave, moral code of conduct, then why are we clubbing this document with something immoral like Arthashastra? Well, the idea is that we need both guides. We need practical guide and an ethical guide as well. So Tirukural will complement Arthashastra and Niti Sar, because our foreign policy, our military strategy should be driven by practicality, but it should also be driven by ethical warfare. For that, research on Tirukural is important. Okay, so Tirukural is studied under Project Udbhav as an ethical and philosophical guide that complements Arthashastra and Niti Sar. Alright, and that would be all. That's it for today. Today's lecture was short and crisp, nonetheless important because a lot of developments are taking place with respect to Project Udbhav. That is why I went into a little bit more detail when it comes to certain sources of Project Udbhav like Arthashastra, Niti Sar and Tirukural. Okay, so study the notes properly, memorize the notes properly. It's very important. A question can be asked. Okay, and on that note, I will conclude today's lecture. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure, absolutely sure, that if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you're following those 4 golden essential steps, then nothing can stop you from clearing this year's prelims examination. So follow these 4 steps, be consistent and regular. And I shall see you next time with another topic in this lecture series called Prelims Powerplay. Thank you, everyone.